Well, hello there, all you amazing people. I am going to make a lot of you guys and girls angry again, because I'm going to talk about why this over here is not going to get more people to Linux. Microsoft Copilot / recall. Yeah, it's not going to happen. I will say this. It's the stupidest thing that anyone has ever come up with. Like, who thought it would be a good idea to take screenshots of people's desktop every 5 seconds and not thinking about, you know, our Dark Knight's habits on sites that we should not be mentioning in church and stuff like that? Or what about bank statements and whatnot? And they do say that if you can't, you know, snip it with the snipping tool, you can't, it won't be registered on recall. I still call it bullshit. And the thing that it's on by default, bullshit. I'm with all of you guys and girls out there that are angry about this. The thing is, I see a lot of misunderstanding and low IQ takes on this. First of all, I honestly don't think that they did this to intrude on your privacy. First of all, it's local, and second of all, it's something that we kind of already have. You know, we have recent files, and stuff like that. You know, we have ways of looking at what we have looked at, even deleted or closed websites. Go onto your web browser, go into your history, you can see what you have opened and closed and stuff like that. This is just taking a step further. I get it. But what I think they did here, and this is something that a lot of people seem to not understand, is that Microsoft, Apple, Linux, not Linux, but Microsoft and Apple, they are competing with each other on features. What this looks like is that we have a massive update to Windows. We need a cool feature that utilizes AI because everyone is overhyping AI at the moment. What can we do? And some idiot came up with this, and some more idiots in the management cycle or chain thought it was a good idea because they didn't thought about the privacy aspect of it. And that's really dangerous. So, that said, I honestly don't believe that they're going to, or the intent was to spy on you. However, if you tell a kid they can't have candy and you put it in front of them and walk away, and they can take that candy without you noticing it, or some of it, they will. This is too much of a temptation for Windows or Microsoft to not do it. So again, listen to me. I don't think that was the intent, but when someone in the office realize how big of a mining potential there is in this, they're going to use it. Just like a kid will take the candy if they have the opportunity. However, that said, I see a lot of videos lately. Ditch Windows, move to Linux, and I'm moving to Linux for this. Because of this recoil here. First of all, most of those people already ran Linux, are just maining it now, or they are Linux fanboys that want to champion the Linux thing. This has been going on for 30 years, okay? Every time Windows either drop support for release, you see all of the high IQ Linux sellers go out and make time to use Linux because X Windows version or Windows version is not supported anymore. Come to our glorious solution that's called Linux. And every time a new release of Windows comes out that require more hardware resources, rinse and repeat. Come to our glorious Linux system that takes less RAM and blah 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 blah. Has not worked, has not happened, will not happen. Another thing is, a lot of those people that are moving because of recall, they don't want it on their system. They don't have to move to not get it on their system. You need a Copilot Plus PC. What this means, at least for now, if you're running an x86 chipset, you won't get it. You don't have the NPUs, new processing units, to run it. It's that simple. They can't even install it on your system. The new generations of AMD and Intel CPUs, will they have NPUs? Probably. Or will they have more of them? Probably. So in the future, it could end up being installed on your PC. But if you have a PC that's, you just built it this year, last year, and you're going to use it for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, nothing to worry about. Because as it is built right now, recall need those NPUs, and it needs a lot of horsepower for NPUs. So you are set, you're good. You don't have to switch. You don't have to go and do these elaborate videos about how idiotic and tired you are of Windows and move to Linux because of this. Because unless you're buying a Copilot Plus PC, at least as it is right now with the current generation of hardware that we have, not going to be an issue. It's just not going to be an issue. Maybe in the future they may even rework rework it to work on x86 CPUs? I don't know, but as it is right now, it's not a concern. What I do see here is a lot of people are not understanding what's going on, making a elephant out of a mouse of what the fuck the saying is. You know, they are fear-mongering, and they are using that to push Linux. Again, that has never worked in history. You cannot fearmonger people into make a change, because then there will be no fat people in the world. There will be no unhealthy people in the world, because doctors will fearmonger you. You know, like, if you don't lose weight, if you don't go to the gym, if you don't do etc., you are going to die sooner than you normally would, which is a big fearmonger. That's like, you're taking decades off your life, and still people are not doing it. They're not losing weight, they're not going to the gym, etc. Fearmongering or using fear to make people to change has almost never worked, unless it's the government doing it to everyone. And if you don't change, you are ending up in jail or whatever. But other than that, it has never worked. What I think the good old Linux world should do, instead of all of this bullshit that they are doing, just make Linux great. Just make it better. Keep making it better. Giving people the features they want, instead of pretending that it's already there. That's how you get people to Linux. You should not look at it like this. If Linux is only good enough, if Microsoft do something bad, that means Linux is not good enough. Linux should be good enough even if Microsoft didn't do this. Every time I see a Linux YouTuber like, oh, X version is getting, end of support, now use Linux. I'm just like, well, if that's the only reason to change to Linux is because Windows is losing support of a version of Windows, that's a really bad excuse to run Linux, because that means that Linux is not ready. That's all it tells me. Use this when the good things do something mildly bad. And here's another thing you also have to remember, people. Most users don't care. They really don't care. What do most people do? They go on the internet. They click accept to all of the tracking cookies in the world. They go on to YouTube, social media, and all of the sites that take all of their fucking data, because they don't care. Heck, there are probably people right now that are buying a Copilot Plus PC just to get this feature because they think they need it. That's the other issue. People don't care about privacy anymore. And again, you cannot force them to care about it, which a lot of Linux people do. You can almost never force people into do what you want them to do. They have to come to that conclusion themselves. And honestly, we're joking about Microsoft being able to see our bank statements, our MILF searches and stuff like that. Your ISP, Chrome, whatever browser you are using, they already have those capabilities to track that, if they wanted to, because you're using the ISP and you're using the web browser to access those information. So if they wanted to, they can already track that. They're just not doing it with screenshots. Well, they technically could screenshot their own browser. This is nothing new. People are already used to this, sadly enough, of course. People are, and again, it's the fucking Linux users, they love to fearmonger. And again, when a product has to use those tactics to get users, means the product is not good enough as it is. Because if Linux was good enough as it is, you will see billions of people migrating over to it because they wanted to. Can you count how many, people that said that when Steam gets support for Linux, there will be no one gaming on Windows? How many of your favorite content creators are gaming on Linux? Almost none. How many of your friends are gaming on Linux? Almost none. Steam is not going to get more people on Linux. It will help, and it probably had got a few people over to Linux, but it's not going to outcompete Windows. Windows give people too much of the right things that they can get away with shit like this. Linux can't. The only benefits you have for running Linux that is actually something that is measurable is that you don't have to pay for a lot of shit. It runs on low hardware. That's the only benefit you get for running Linux as an average consumer. Can you see the source code? Yeah, but most of you fucking eggheads out there are not going to look at the source code. You're just not going to do it, okay? No, it don't matter. People don't care, and even if they look at the source code, they're not contributing, they're not helping out the community or anything like that. That's a lie. I've been dealing with this for 30 years. Not going to have close to 30 years. No. It's only developers that are going to do that. The average Joe don't give a fuck, okay? Other than that, there's no benefit of running Linux. If you have older hardware, there is a benefit. If you are a cheap motherfucker, there is a benefit. Somewhat because you don't pay for the OS, and there's a lot of programs you don't have to pay for. Which a lot of the programs that you do have to pay for, They are not that expensive besides Adobe products, of course. Microsoft in of itself for the basic subscription is not that expensive. Like, you're probably paying more for streaming services and whatnot than that cost right now. You know, companies are really good at figuring out how much money they can get out of people before they start to bitch and moan. So if Linux only have a few things that benefiting the user, why should they change? This is not going to make them change because they don't care. They really don't care. It's not an issue for most of us, at least for now, because we are not running a Copilot Plus PC. This is sadly in Danish, but like I said, a Copilot Plus PC runs Snapdragon CPUs with NPUs. This has been pushed so out of proportions. As bad as it is, it's showcasing how batshit crazy a lot of people are and unknowledgeable a lot of people are on the internet. And for Linux, that's not a good fucking sign. If you have a friend that only talks to you when one of your other friends are saying something bad behind your back and telling you that friend is saying something bad behind your back and how bad they are and stuff like that because they really want you to be their best friend, you are not going to talk to them. Because if they're going to be bitchy and moany and drama queens over that dude, who's saying they're not going to do that to you? If the only drawing point Linux people have is anti-privacy, you're owning your shit and freedom and all of that shit that people have given up on like 15 years ago. If that's how you're talking to people and yelling to get people over to your side, they are not going to do it. Because then they are using a program over there that takes telemetry, that has some anti-privacy things going on. You're going to yell at them on doing that on Linux then. You have to be consistent. You cannot say it's okay to use, anti-privacy stuff on Windows, but it's okay to use anti-privacy shit on Linux. You have to be consistent. If you hate Microsoft, you have to hate Google, okay? And that goes with Android also. Because Android takes way more personal data and telemetry than almost any fucking system existing. The same with Chrome. So if you hate Windows for doing these things, you should hate Google. Linux people don't do that because they do nice things for Linux. The same, Valve takes a shit ton of telemetry. You don't own your fucking games on Steam, but Valve is a good company because we can get Steam on Linux. You get what I'm coming at here. Stop being hypocritical idiots. Stop fear-mongering. Stop making shit out of things that are not there. I will agree. Again, like I said in the beginning, this is not good. This is a bad thing. They didn't fucking think about what they were doing. And the fact that it's on by default is even worse. I don't agree with any of this, what they're doing. But I'm also realistic. And I've been in this world long enough to see how things work. And this is not going to get Linux the year of the Linux desktop. A few people will move, but that's it. And a lot of them will move back to Windows when they figure out that a lot of their favorite software, working software that they use, is not compatible with Linux, and the open source versions are batshit fucking awful. Because people don't want to work on making Linux better, they just want to bitch and moan about Windows and Mac OS and proprietary software. If every one of you guys and girls that bitch and moan about Windows and Mac OS, go spend $10 a month to support a fucking open source project. Go help translate an open source project. Do something for Linux other than bitching and moaning about how bad Windows and Mac, because that's not helping out. That's making you an obnoxious idiot. And that's when I see every time Windows do some batshit crazy stuff. And again, this is batshit crazy shit that they're doing. But what makes me even more frustrated is all of the fucking mindless Linux drones making pointless videos after pointless videos, basically telling the world that they are the good guys and everyone else are the bad guys, without really understanding what's going on. And it drives me bonkers. See you all later. Bye bye.